In this video, I hang out in my hotel room with Wargamer Girl and Codex Dan, and we talk about Warmachine.
A lot of you have asked me in the past about Warmachine, and I used to play a little bit, and I don't play much anymore, but Uncle Adam is always here to try to help out the people that are asking for help. So I wanted to talk to two people who are kind of pros, they know what they're talking about. We've got Wargamer Girl, Miranda, and we've got Codex Dan. And so they're both here in the hotel room studio, as it were, to talk to us a little bit about Warmachine. So I wanted to find out, like, how long ago did you guys start playing, and what got you kind of involved?
So I started technically playing back when I bought my first battle box in like 2006, but it was Mark 1 and it did not take off with me very much. So I didn't actually get back into it until around 2011.
Yeah.
And it was just out of an interest in getting back into gaming. I wasn't feeling it for 40k. Sisters of Battle are terrible. And so I didn't want to do that. So when I was in the game store, it was the aesthetic that drew me to it. It was big monsters, big heavy robots specifically, actually.
K-Door.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The biggest robots, in fact, which makes them the best. And it was the aesthetic that drew me into it, and then I just started learning the game from there.
Yeah.
So it was really the aesthetic. You?
I was working at Mini Wargaming, and I wanted to start fantasy, but Matt was like, no, you gotta try Warmachine, you'll love it. I was like, I don't know if I want to start, I kind of want to. I was like, fine. I cracked. I was like, let's try some games. And we played a few demo games, and it was like, this rule set was just like, oh, this is cool. And it's just like, I played so much like, if you're beside each other, you fight. But not necessarily Warmachine if you're in the wrong angle or, oh, I can't do this. And it's just like, you could be all clumped up in the middle and have to figure out how to solve that puzzle. Instead of just in 40k, you're like, well, they're all together, they all fight. And it's like a massive board, and on the other side it was just like, and it brought a new kind of feeling to me, and I was like, oh. And then as I played more games, I think it was like the third game I played, the last turn was I cast a spell point blank, so I didn't have to roll the hit, because if it scattered it would still knock down everybody.
Sure.
And then the other guy walked over and automatically hit because he was knocked down and did enough damage that would automatically kill his Warcaster. And so my last turn, I didn't roll any dice.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, and I win. And I didn't have to roll any dice. And I was like, that was super cool. And I was hooked at that point. I was like, cool. And then I just kept progressing, and then just buying more models, making more battle reports. And yeah.
When did you guys, because you guys both do like to play in tournaments. Like, I'm not a tournament player. I never really have been much. But like, what kind of things are you guys... Like, when you guys started getting into tournaments, or did you jump into it immediately, or did you just play for a while with people at shops and friends?
Yeah.
And then
Yeah, definitely mostly friends for a long time, because we didn't have a big enough group to do a lot of tournaments. But I don't know, it was probably only a couple of months before I was doing a tournament, just because if you don't have to psych yourself out about needing to win right away just to get into a tournament, and then that ends up being more fun. Mm-hmm. And then after a while, you really just want to win, and then you start net listing and stuff, but that comes later.
Yeah.
For me, it was like right away. Just like as soon as the tournament came up, I played, and it was just like, and then I didn't expect to win, but it was just like, okay, I want to learn how to play. Mm-hmm. Like it's like this tight rule set is competitive, and there's so much to learn. Like, I was just learning all these cool little tactics that you couldn't do in 40k, and I was like, I just want to learn more. And even if I got smashed, and I'll learn more, and so I was right in the competitive scene right away.
Yeah, I mean, is it because from what I understand of the game, I mean, like, I played a little bit in like 1.5, and I bought like the Mark II book. And I played like a couple of games. One of them was against Sam, and he had Troll Bloods, the bluish guys.
Yeah.
And just like every time I would knock one down, they would roll a toughness, and they would just get back up again. And I was just like, So
we all still hate that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I can understand that totally. So that kind of thing, like, but it's a very kind of a combo heavy type game in comparison to 40k, from what I understand.
It is.
And that kind of stuff, I think, draws a certain, and because you talked about it's a very tight, rule set. It draws kind of a competitive crowd to some degree, doesn't it? I mean,
which is its benefit and downfall, I could say.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's what draws. It's considered the most competitive game, I think, right now.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know where like the other skirmish games are coming up with it, or how they're doing in that meta. But yeah, Warmachine has a very tight rule set. Every single rule has a specific ruling on its interpretation, so it's very consistent, which I know is a problem in 40K.
Yeah.
And so it draws a lot of people for just that element. But I mean, the competition can get kind of crazy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Definitely. I mean, I think that. I mean, from what I understand, it was kind of designed to be a little bit more competitive, and to. I mean, like they made sure to write the rules so that there was no like discussion. Sometimes, you know what I mean? Like, at least in a lot of games, you can be like, well, do they mean this or do they mean that? And they're very. The one thing that did strike me about the rules originally was like, they would always say things like, and then they would also be like, that means also that you can't do, you know what I mean? There's a lot of like very specific, so there's no kind of back. I mean, I'm sure there's still a little bit here and there, but.
Yeah, I appreciate that they will repeat rules, which you won't get in 40K again.
Yeah.
You'll be like, reference Appendix AC in Book 4 or whatever. And they do repeat it here, and I guess, I lost my train of thought on it, but basically, yes, the rules are designed to be very clear. It's called rules as written.
Yeah.
So you're not really interested in the spirit of the game. You rules lawyer, all the semantics come out, and so the game's been worked so thoroughly in that regard.
Yeah.
That's why there's an answer for everything. Like the judge document is something that has an answer for just about every scenario.
Yeah.
Yeah, like all their bigger tournaments, they have judges who have to pass a test
Yes.
to become a judge.
Oh, nice.
You have to
Okay.
know a lot about the game.
Yeah, yeah.
Like know so much about the game, and to get this status, and then you can go to Privateer Press's events and judge.
Mm-hmm.
But like it's like there, and they have a forum, like an official Privateer Press forum, where if the rules is unclear or something, you can post it. People can debate whatever, and then someone comes in with a special purple name.
An official person.
Yeah, and
yeah.
the purple name means official Privateer Press representative, and what they say is the final ruling on it. And
Yeah.
so then you know. And so when you read something, let's see, check it online, and oftentimes there's the answer, and then you know.
And that's a big deal because 40K is so hands-off, and they're so like, nobody will answer a question and that kind of stuff. And it's just crazy, because that was one of the things that did strike me when I was playing a little bit. I'd go online and check the Privateer Press forum and stuff, and there would be those purple names, and they would say, this is now the answer. And you're like, oh, well, that's pretty straightforward.
Mm-hmm.
And you'd have to wait, sometimes years for a FAQ from GW. And so, yeah, I mean, that's kind of
I mean,
crazy.
it wouldn't even solve anything.
Yeah, exactly. No.
Would not address it at all.
No,
Like,
yeah.
I'm part of like a little orc conversion Facebook page that I go back to every once in a while, and then like they got into a discussion about what does this rule mean? And it was just like all these comments.
Yeah.
I was like, GW rules.
Oh,
I
yeah.
haven't missed you.
So, but what about the hobby though? Like, do you guys? I mean, first of all, do you guys collect multiple armies, or do you pretty much just stick with because that happens to a lot of people in 40K? But yeah,
I think it's easier to collect more armies in Warmachine.
it's generally fewer models, kind of. Although it has swollen.
It
some.
has swollen a lot.
Yeah.
50 is the new 35, as it were, and it is the new black.
Yeah.
But and the points costs and stuff is pretty comparable, and
Yeah.
because you want to, I guess in 40K, you have a 2,500 point army. It's your one army.
Yeah.
With Warmachine, you typically have a 2-list, and now they even have like 3-list formats, and you can't repeat character models. You have to have enough variety in there that, you can spend some coin getting your army built, and then additionally assembling it and painting it and getting it all to standard.
What I found is Warmachine, even though it's less model count, you don't spend less money.
No.
For some reason, I think there's probably an economist involved in that somehow. You know what I mean?
You're just more kind of diverse things you can bring. Well, 40K you kind of just build up and you bring what you have.
Yeah.
And it's a while until you can start exchanging things out.
Yeah.
Or even fantasy, same thing. But in in Warmachine you can start exchanging things a little more early.
Yeah.
And have a little more diverse armies.
For the people that I like to refer to myself as a hobby hero in that I'm generally more interested in the hobby stuff than I am in the competitive stuff. I see when I go to sometimes like in Gen Con and here I see tournaments where I see a lot of like figures that sometimes aren't painted. Is that a little bit more kind of epidemic to some degree in Warmachine? And I think are they trying to fix it?
I don't know that they're trying to fix it. But.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, I mean, the competitive players are so obsessed with the the game and
Yeah.
knowing the techniques, and it takes so much time to do that, and you are swapping things out, that I think the aesthetic level of it kind of falls away
Yeah.
for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And so they do have to make, like Adepticon typically has a rule that you have to have painted armies, but a lot of places don't.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of my metas won't.
I've seen guys pushing around like just like a torso, like and legs, like glued like to the base, and then the arms are just sort of stuck there a little bit, so they're not exactly on, but they're on the base.
It can
And
be a
I've seen
bit-
that before.
It can be a bit binary though too, because you'll have people like that who are like, I assembled this as I was making my list today.
Yeah, yeah.
Or people who have magnetized and pinned everything, and they've
Oh
got,
yeah,
like,
no, I have seen some amazing stuff. I've seen some really great stuff, looking stuff downstairs.
Yeah.
It's just even like today. So yeah, no, that's kind of cool.
and the models lend themselves to being painted up really nice. It's a much more interesting game. Like any hobby game,
Yeah.
it's going to be a lot more interesting once your models are painted up. It's just
There's not as many conversions necessarily, are there?
no, and it's not a WYSIWYG style game. I mean, you
Yeah.
buy your unit, it's what is on the unit's card and everything. People will change stuff out, and they've, like No Quarter, they've put out
Sure.
some cool ideas for like changing eras to be more faction specific and things like that. But I don't
Yeah.
know how many really conversions they do.
I mean, there are not near as much. I think it's mostly metal models. It's just a lot harder to convert those. A
Yeah,
lot more
yeah.
effort, and so they start and become more resin and plastic, and so that leans itself to more conversion. So we've started seeing a little bit more.
Yeah.
But you gotta be careful. Obviously, they have rules about not including other IPs or anything in it.
Oh,
you've
sure.
gotta
I can
limit
understand that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But painting, at least for like the high end tournaments, like the last stages of it, they require all painting for that at least.
Yeah. Yeah.
And even my local meta, like we just realized the problem. Like I just remember when I was playing 40K, there'd be like the guy that comes with like a bucket full of models, and he just like dumps them, and they're all like, they're primed.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, it's just all plastic, and then they win the tournament because all they do is play. They
Yeah.
don't care about painting.
Yeah.
And so because Warmachine is so competitive driven,
Yeah.
you get more of that style of it's just a big pewter army.
Yeah.
But they play well, and so that's why you see, I think, less painted armies, just because that mindset
Well, yeah,
of more
just-
competitive play.
Yeah, you'll just have more people who come to the game for that level rather than people who are like, I'm just playing for fun, and
Yeah.
then I want to paint up my dudes.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that's cool. Do you guys play also Hordes? I know you do. Do you go both? I mean,
Kador. That's it.
it's interesting that it's like two completely separate, well, not separate games, but they're two games that kind of have, but they can be playing against each other. It's kind of an interesting concept.
No, the cross rule
Yeah.
set it's smart. The core
Yeah.
rules of the game are really solid.
Yeah.
And so the Fury mechanic,
versus
people,
the focus mechanic.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the thing about Hordes is that it lends so well to having lots of big heavies on the board. You have lots of War Beasts and stuff that you're running, whereas Warmachine doesn't.
Yeah.
Which is kind of tragic because I came to Warmachine to play robots.
Yeah,
And
oh,
I play
yeah.
the faction that can barely run robots.
Yeah, well, same here, because when I played, I was Kador.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's the trap of Kador. You're like, oh, I want to run big amazing
the
jacks.
coolest
Yeah.
jacks.
So you're like, oh wait, how they run is like 1, maybe 2 jacks in your list.
50 points, 2 jacks. You're like, get a little heavy.
Yeah, you can play like Convergence or
Yeah.
Men Off if you want to bring a lot of jacks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's cool because like the focus mechanic is more. This is the amount of money I have.
Right.
I dish it out, and I pay for services, and I get that kind of thing.
Mhm.
And Hordes is like, I'd swipe this credit card,
Yeah.
and next turn
Pay
I'll
as you
figure
go.
out how much I
Right,
owe.
yeah. So future you might be very angry at present you, depending on how things go. Yeah.
Yeah, and so like sometimes you have to, how do I figure out? And there's detriments. But
for Hordes, it's a lot more think on your feet. You
Yeah.
you have a much more dynamic game plan, I think, from just watching Hordes, because you can move your beasts up, and where in Warmachine, if you allocated focus and you ended up killing a model that was really important to kill, well, that focus is kind of wasted because your
'Cause
plan
you
is
already planned
changed
for it.
or
Yeah,
it
yeah.
can't be used.
No, that's
Whereas
true.
you can really dynamically decide what you're doing as you play through with Hordes. And I know it's supposed to get weaker as you kill off beasts, but that's harder than it sounds.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
there's advantages and disadvantages for both. I don't think one's stronger than the other.
Yeah.
It's like it's a lot harder to kill a Hordes Warcaster than it is a Warmachine caster.
Sure. Yeah.
It is because of the transfer mechanic and just the different assassination levels, and that's one of the things that's kind of interesting, but also maybe not amazing about the game is the whole assassination run. I always come from the argument that if you're losing on attrition or you're losing on a scenario, even as you're losing the battle, you always have like a chance of winning.
Of taking out the other Warcaster.
Right. So
yeah.
it keeps you invested.
Yeah.
But it creates such crazy crazy rules niggling and like Rube Goldberg machines to like if I do
did
this
and
and
then this and then that guy's dead.
yeah,
and
yeah.
then I win. Yeah,
and then
yeah.
somebody's just like, you know, the other side of the table might just feel robbed because they were coming at it with a sound strategy,
Yeah.
and then they're like, what did your ninja just do? What?
Yeah.
This doesn't even make sense. Physics don't even allow for Mage Hunter Strike Force. What is going on?
Yeah.
And that's one of the things you have to worry about in Warmachine is you can feel robbed a lot of the times if you don't know all the rules. And so it has a really high learning curve because you don't just have to know your own faction, which I think 40K really is more about knowing your own stuff.
Yeah, but I've always heard that the best players also know everybody else's stuff
Well,
too.
yeah. You
have
so
to.
yeah. I would
Quote Sun Tzu, whatever.
Right. Yeah.
But it is a matter of how easy that is, right? With so many special rules, even great players, they joke about it on podcasts, like, oh, how did you cheat this week? Because you just cannot remember every rule.
Yeah. I mean, it's I've had a lot, like I said, I've had a lot of people ask about it and everything like that, and I haven't played it in years, and I think that there are a lot of people out there who are interested or on the bubble and kind of going that direction. So I wanted to talk to some people, some pros. I mean,
We played this weekend, didn't we?
see,
Dave?
there you go.
Good.
That's cool. Did you do a video, or did either of you do a video about the game? Did you do a bat rep?
No, Owen recorded a game,
Yeah.
him and I, but I hadn't recorded a Warmachine battle report
It's
this
super
weekend.
hard, like during the convention, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it really
Especially
is.
your style, where you have nice
Well,
everything nice
yeah.
and
Can
tight.
everybody just stop for a second? Okay, let me record
Yeah.
this.
You gotta get the light, and the light is really rough in a lot of those
The
those
light
ballrooms.
I love this convention center. Like,
Yeah.
it's really nice and spacious, and I like where all the rooms are and stuff. But yeah, they could do with more light.
Yeah, no, I agree.
But you do camera work, you always feel that way.
Yeah, no, exactly. Well, I really appreciate you guys coming up here to the hotel and talking to me about it. And I hope that more people, definitely watch, Wargamer Girl, watch Codex Dan. It's a lot of information going on about Warmachine, and honestly, that's if you want to find out about it, obviously YouTube's the best way, but these two are some of the best.
Yeah, my battle reports show a very detailed play-by-play, so you get a sense of the gameplay, I think, from it.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and then just try it.
Yeah, who knows what goes on my channel. But if I can say one thing,
Yeah.
if you are getting in the Warmachine, a lot of people really stress that competitive and always trying to practice for tournaments. And what's really important about every war game is you need the relaxed, fun games.
Yeah.
And people just forget about that a lot of times in Warmachine.
Yeah.
So you just gotta stick to your guns and do it. And I've been called a special snowflake.
Yeah.
He's like Dan's the last special snowflake around here. I'm just like, because I don't go online and check out other people's lists.
Right,
And I don't
yeah.
try to tech for tournaments. And what's a strong list? Like, what's your matchup for this? How are you gonna beat that? I was like, I don't know. I don't even know what that list is.
Yeah.
We'll just see
what
when I come up
remember
to
to
it.
bring today.
But I do all right.
Yeah.
And it's
You
like,
do.
But, I
But
have
you're
fun
also
with
there.
it.
You're there to
Right.
have fun. Exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so-
and I'm
yeah.
a big fan of having fun in games. I think that's sort of important. So yeah.
Yeah, not to
No.
be intimidated by the rest of the Warmachine players. Stick to your guns. If you want to have fun, you can have fun, and it totally works.
So yes, but if you are going to be playing at your LGS to try out Warmachine, make sure your opponent knows that.
That you're beginning, or that
Because
you're
Or you'll
if,
just
if
get
somebody's
smashed.
coming to it from a competitive scene, and someone's coming into it from a competitive or casual scene, then they will be clubbing baby seals, and it is not a fun experience. Don't do that.
Do you know that
Just
from
from
experience?
personal experience? Yes,
Yes,
because
yeah.
the first 50 games of Warmachine feels like having a grinder put to your face if you're trying to be really hardcore competitive, because it's brutal.
Oh yeah, but
And
if you're just trying
it
to have
doesn't
fun,
have to be, but it is.
if you're just trying to have fun, you have other people who are also interested in fun.
Exactly.
It's fun then.
Exactly. So you just make sure you're on the same page.
Exactly. That makes sense.